I never believed in ghosts until I stayed in that AirBnB. Now, I can't stop seeing them everywhere. That's why I'm creating this list, to warn others about what lurks in these rental properties. My name is irrelevant. What matters is what I discovered and why you should never stay at property 44 on Willow Lane. It started 3 weeks ago. I needed a place to crash while attending a conference in Portland. Hotels were booked solid, so I turned to Airbnb. Property 44 seemed perfect. Affordable, close to the venue, and the reviews were mostly positive. Mostly. One review caught my attention. It simply said, "The house has visitors at night. Not recommended for light sleepers." I laughed it off. Old houses make noise. I'm a heavy sleeper anyway. I booked it immediately. The house was a Victorian-style building, probably built in the early 1900s. The host, an elderly woman, met me at the door with a forced smile.
Welcome to Willow Lane. I've left instructions on the kitchen counter. Please follow them carefully, especially about the 3rd floor. It's off-limits due to renovations.
She handed me the keys and left quickly, almost running to her car. I didn't think much of it at the time. The house was beautiful inside, hardwood floors, antique furniture, and surprisingly modern amenities. I settled in, unpacked, and went to bed early. That first night, I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. I know because I checked my phone. The room was freezing cold, despite the thermostat showing 72 degrees. Then I heard it. Footsteps on the floor above me. The 3rd floor. The off-limits floor. I tried to convince myself it was just the house settling, but the footsteps were too deliberate, too rhythmic. Back and forth, back and forth. Then they stopped, right above my bed. I held my breath, waiting. A minute passed, 2 minutes. Then a loud thud, like something heavy had fallen. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. In the morning, I convinced myself it was nothing. Old houses make noise, that's all. The second night was worse. The footsteps returned, but this time, they weren't alone. I heard whispering, faint at first, then growing louder. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was urgent, desperate. I pulled the covers over my head like a child, as if that would protect me. By the 3rd night, I was sleep-deprived and on edge. Gee, I considered finding another place, but I'd paid for the week and the conference was going well. I decided to investigate instead. If there was a rational explanation, I would find it. I waited until I heard the footsteps again, then grabbed my phone for light and ventured into the hallway. The temperature dropped with each step I took toward the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. A chain with a no entry sign blocked the stairway, but it wasn't locked. I removed it and began to climb. The stairs creaked under my weight, announcing my presence to whatever waited above. The 3rd floor was a single open room, empty except for a rocking chair in the center, facing away from me. It was rocking slowly, as if someone had just stood up. I approached cautiously, my phone light casting long shadows across the wooden floor. As I reached the chair, it stopped rocking. I moved around to see the front of it, and that's when my phone died. Complete darkness enveloped me. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder, cold, heavy, but undeniably there.
You shouldn't be here. None of you should be here.
I ran. I don't remember how I found the stairs in the dark, but I did. I locked myself in my room and pushed a dresser against the door. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. When morning came, I packed my things and checked out early, making up an excuse about a family emergency. I should have left it at that. Gone home, forgotten about property so 44. But I couldn't. Something about that voice, that hand on my shoulder. It felt familiar, somehow. I needed answers. I started researching the house. City records showed it had been built in 1897 by a doctor named, well, his name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened there. In 1923, the doctor was found dead in his 3rd floor study, along with 6 patients. The official report called it a murder-suicide, but newspaper clippings suggested something else. experimental treatments, patients reporting seeing visitors at night. I dug deeper. Over the next century, the house changed hands dozens of times. No one stayed longer than 2 years. There were 3 more documented deaths in the house, all in the same third-floor room, all ruled as suicides. Then, I found something that chilled me to the bone, a guest book from when the house briefly served as a bed and breakfast in the 1980s. One entry, read, "Room 3 has visitors at night, not recommended for light sleepers." The exact same wording as the AirBnB review. I contacted previous guests who had stayed at property 44.4. Most never responded. Those who did reported similar experiences: cold spots, foot spots, whispers. One woman said she woke up with handprints on her arms as if someone had grabbed her while she slept. That's when I decided to create the list, a catalog of haunted rental properties with property 44 as the first entry. I posted on forums asking for similar experiences. The responses flooded in, hundreds of them from all over the country. Haunted Airbnbs, vacation rentals with unwanted guests, homes where previous occupants never truly left. I organized them by location, by type of haunting, by severity. Some were mild, objects moving, lights flickering. Others were violent, guests waking up with scratches, being pushed downstairs, hearing voices telling them to hurt themselves or others. As my list grew, I noticed patterns. Certain addresses appeared multiple times, under different listings. Certain hosts owned multiple properties, all with similar reports. It wasn't random. It was systematic. 2 weeks after my stay at property 44, I received an email from an anonymous address. It contained a single image, a photograph of me sleeping in that Airbnb bed. I was not alone in the picture. Standing over me was a figure, blurred but unmistakably there. I deleted the email immediately, but I couldn't unsee it. That night, I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. in my own apartment. The room was freezing cold. Footsteps paced above me, even though I lived on the top floor. I knew then that I hadn't left property 4 behind. I had brought something back with me. I tried everything to get rid of it. Sage burning, religious symbols, salt lines at the doors and windows. Nothing worked. Each night, the same routine. 3:17 a.m. cold room, footsteps, whispers. Sometimes I would see a shadow in the corner of my eye, but when I turned, it was gone. Then last night, something changed. I woke up at the usual time, but instead of footsteps, I heard a voice right next to my ear.
Your list is getting too long. Some things should remain hidden.
I sat up, heart pounding, and saw him for the first time. A man in early 1900s clothing, standing at the foot of my bed. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow, but I recognized him from the photographs I'd found. The doctor who had owned property 44.
You're bringing attention to places that want to be left alone. We want to be left alone.
I found my voice somehow, pushed through the fear. What do you want from me?
Stop the list, destroy it, or we'll have to stop you.
We? Who's we?
All of us, from all the properties. We talk to each other, you know. We move between the places where the veil is thin, and we don't appreciate your interference.
He moved closer, and I could smell something antiseptic, like an old hospital.
You have 1 day to delete everything. After that, we'll consider you a permanent guest.
He vanished, but the cold remained. I sat awake until dawn, weighing my options. The list had grown to over 50 properties, with hundreds of reports. It was important work, warning people, protecting them. But at what cost? This morning I made my decision. I'm not deleting the list. I'm publishing it, sharing it as widely as possible. That's why I'm recording this now, as evidence, as a warning. If something happens to me, at least others will know. At least the truth will be out there. It's almost 3:17 a.m. now. I can feel the temperature dropping already. I don't know what will happen when they return, but I'm ready. set up cameras, recording devices. If they take me, they won't do it without leaving evidence. Wait, do you hear that? Footsteps. But not from above this time. They're coming up the stairs, multiple sets. They're coming for me.
We warned you.
There are more of them now. Figures from different eras, different properties on my list. They're surrounding me, closing in. I can see through some of them, but others look solid enough to touch. Their eyes, all fixed on me, all filled with the same cold anger.
You should have listened.
Now you'll join our list.
They're reaching for me, hands passing through my skin like ice water. I can't move, can't scream. My body feels heavy, like I'm sinking into the floor. Is this how it happens? Is this how you become one of them? If anyone finds this recording, please continue my work. The list is saved on my cloud drive. The password is property44. People need to know what's out there, what's waiting in these places pretending to be empty. They're pulling me now, pulling me somewhere else. I can see my body below me, slumped over the desk, but I'm not in it anymore. I'm with them now, part of their collection, and I understand now, this is just the beginning. There are so many more properties, so many more like me. If you're listening to this, be careful where you stay. Check my list first, and if you ever find yourself waking up at 3:17 a.m. to footsteps and whispers, don't investigate. Don't look for answers. Just leave. Leave while you still can.
Time to go now. The others are waiting.
This is my final warning. Property 44 was just the start. We're everywhere, and now I'm one of them.